Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Movies for Life YouTube channel. And welcome to this 1982 horror movie review as we kick off the last month of my 1982 movie reviews as part of my overall 1980s horror movie series. So, the movie we're going to take a look at today, first time watch for me, although I've had the physical media for this movie in my collection for some time, probably about 3 years. I have the Scream Factory Blu-ray of this movie. And that movie is from 1982, of course. Alone in the Dark. So yeah, the collector's edition with the slipcover here. You guys could see some special features there underneath the picture. But yeah, this is a movie I've been looking forward to watching for quite a while. I knew some of the performers that were in it. Um, and I knew it was about like mental patients escaping and going after some people, but that was really about it. I didn't have much more context than that. So let's go ahead and talk about Alone in the Dark, though, starting off with the premise and the beginning of the movie here. So Alone in the Dark is a 1982 American slasher film co-written and directed by Jack Shoulder, who also directed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, which would be like 3 years after this movie. And this is his directorial debut. The plot follows psyche. Why do I have trouble saying this name? Not a psychologist, a psychiatrist. The plot follows a psychiatrist's family who are besieged by four escaped mental patients during a power blackout. Following stunts and polyester, Alone in the Dark was one of the earliest films produced by distributor New Line Cinema, who of course would give us all the Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy movies later, in a couple of years later. So psychiatrist Dan Potter is appointed on the staff of Dr. Leo Bain's experimental psychiatric hospital known as The Haven in New Jersey. His predecessor, Dr. Henry Merton, has taken a new position in Philadelphia. Dan, his wife Nell, and their daughter Lila move into a rural home in the area. At Haven, Dr. Bain uses lenient security methods, except with the third floor patients, whom he keeps contained with an electronic security door. Among them are former POW Frank Hakes, pyromaniac evangelist Byron Preacher Sutcliffe, obese child molester Ronald Elster, and a shy serial killer John the Bleeder Skaggs. Aren't those some great names? And Skaggs refuses to show his face. Angered by Dr. Merton's departure, the third floor patients irrationally blame Dan, believing he has murdered Merton and taken his place. The four men make plans to kill Dan and retrieve his address from Dr. Bain's office. Dan's younger sister, Tony Potter, who has recently suffered a nervous breakdown, arrives to visit. Dan, Nell, and Tony go to a local rock club, while Lila is left with babysitter Bunky. A regional power outage occurs. The security system at Haven fails, and the four men on the third floor escape, killing security guard Ray Curtis in the process before killing employee Dr. Barkin and stealing his car. They stop by a local strip mall that is being looted during the blackout and arm themselves with weapons from a sporting goods store. They leave Skaggs behind after he kills an innocent bystander. So yeah, that's to set up the premise, the beginning of Alone in the Dark from 1982. As far as the cast goes, you have Jack Palance as Frank Hakes, Donald Pleasence as Dr. Leo Bain, Martin Landau as Byron Preacher Sutcliffe, Dwight Schultz as Dr. Dan Potter, Erland Van Lith as Ronald Fatty Elster, Deborah Headwall as Nell Potter, Lee Taylor Allen as Tony Potter, and Philip Clark as Tom Smith / John Bleeder Skaggs. So yeah, that's to set up the premise and the cast for Alone in the Dark. I really love this movie. I mean, it's a first time watch for me, but I was into it from beginning to end, and this is definitely a slasher done right, in my opinion. I really only have maybe one and a half cons with the movie, which I'll get into later. And the half is more of a warning. It's not even a con. But yeah, let's just go. Let's just get into it and talk about what I like about this movie. And I think you have to start with the performers in this movie and the performances in the movie. You have Donald Pleasence, Martin Landau and Jack Palance here, and they're all on point with the characters they play. Really good, as you would expect, and really helps make the story much more grounded in reality in an effective, creepy way. This is something you could really see happening in real life. And I think, and even beyond those three, I think the performances across the board by those in the family are good. Dwight Schultz, who plays Dr. Dan Potter, who I kind of recognized, but I didn't know where I'd seen him before. He was actually Murdoch in the A-Team. If you're an 80s kid like I was, you'll remember that show. I think it ran for like 3 or 4 or 5 seasons in the mid-80s, basically. I think this movie came out before it. But yeah, the A-Team with Mr. T, he played Murdoch, and this was definitely a different role for him here in this movie, but he's really good. And I thought the actresses that played his wife and his sister were good. So yeah, I mean, great performances across the board, and that just helps make this a more grounded in reality movie, as I said. And, there's some slashers where you get I know people still enjoy them. I enjoy a lot of these slashers. They're a little bit more over the top. They have some supernatural elements to them, and the fact that the killer's like Jason Voorhees, he can't be killed kind of thing. But once in a while, it's nice to have a slasher like this too, that's more grounded in reality, where the killers or the slashers can be killed relatively easily. Yeah, where was I going with that? Because it involves more story and more backstory, and this one certainly does. And so those things, as much as I love a good, just like low budget slasher movie where the teenagers are on the run against the madman in the woods that has supernatural abilities, it's nice to see these kind of slashers too, where it's more something you could actually see happening, and that makes it even scarier in my opinion. And it's still incredibly engaging and entertaining. So yeah, that's the first pro I have for this movie. There's great tension and atmosphere created in this movie, especially in the third act, with the family being barricaded into their house. There are some great moments of suspense during that time. Like, you have one character, you actually have law enforcement that stays with him, and he ends up taking a crossbow and getting pinned to a tree. It just has some really good stalking scenes, some really good atmosphere throughout the house and outside of the house. The whole third act of this movie really worked for me. It was very effective. Unlike some other slasher movies or horror movies in general, where it starts out well and then it doesn't really stick the landing. I think this one does a pretty good job of sticking the landing overall. So yeah, I think that there's great tension and atmosphere created here, and a lot of that credit goes to the director, Jack Shoulder. I think this is his best movie. I haven't seen all the ones he did. I like Friday the 13th. I like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. It's grown on me more over the years, but I do like this movie more than that one, if I'm being honest. I think he does a great job directing here. It's a well-written movie. It's well shot, with some of the camera shots and cinematography, and it's a very well-directed movie, where they also are able to give us some good character development and backstory, not just for the 4 psychiatric patients who escape, but also the family here, the sister, the wife, the husband. They felt like a real family. And yeah, I think this movie does a great job in the writing and directing and execution, once again, of giving us characters that we care about or that have a little bit of depth to them. They're not just a body that they throw into the woods and say, okay, run now, as there's a killer after you. There's actually a story here. There's actually some character development. Yeah, it's very well done from a technical standpoint. I also like the score of this movie. Well, it's nothing overwhelming. It definitely plays into the tension and the atmosphere as well in this movie, and I thought it was effective. The kills are solid, not bloody or gory, which I'll get into a little bit later, but they're solid because there's a variety of kills. It's not all with a knife or anything like that. There are stabbings. I think there's like a machete or something, where one character gets slashed on the side of the face here. as he's trying to reason with the psychiatric patients. Somebody gets their back broken in half and killed that way. There's some strangulations. Yeah, there's just a nice variety of kills here, and I would say they're more psychological almost in terms of just like flat out slasher kills with the gore and and all that kind of stuff. Although there is some blood and gore in this movie, it's not devoid of it, but it's also not the point of it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I thought the kills were solid, and then I have to say I think my favorite scene of the movie is the one that you see in a lot of like I think it's the scene they showed like in Search of Darkness when they talked about this movie from 1982, and that's the babysitter kill, where the babysitter's called by the father to go to this house and look on the daughter because the mother's in jail with the sister because of a nuclear power protest they were doing. And there's nobody, and the little girl gets home from, not little, she's like 10, but she gets home from school and there's nobody in the house. So the babysitter goes there, checks on her, she's sleeping, she invites her boyfriend over to have a little nookie in the house, which is pretty ballsy of her. And then the scene ensues from there because there's one of the psychiatric patients are under the bed and within the house, and so I always think of the knife going through the bed like the mattress. And it does a couple times in this scene. I just think it's a very effective scene. It's also the scene where you do get a little bit of nudity. The only nudity you get in the movie. So for the slasher fans out there, there's that. But I think it's just a very well done scene overall, with tension and the kills of the two aren't anything overly gory or anything. But I think again it's more psychological, more build up and tension, and just like I said, those shots of the knives going through the bed, and one of them gets real close to when she's kneeling on the bed. One gets real close to like her midsection, shall we say. So yeah, very well done there. That's probably my favorite scene of the movie. Also, I have to mention there's a cameo of Lynn Shay. She's not in the movie a whole lot. It's kind of at the beginning of the movie, a very young Lynn Shay, but that was cool to see. Obviously, she was involved in New Line and with New Line Cinema and Jack Shoulder and all that. So, and she plays kind of a cool little cameo part too, where it kind of throws you off at first. So that was cool. I'm trying to think if there's any other pros. I mean, there's some people will say, "Oh, I bet you don't like the dream sequence at the beginning of the movie." Wrong. Even though I'm somebody that kind of doesn't like dream sequences in horror movies or movies in general, because I think they're trying to fool the audience, and it tends to be kind of cheap. In this case, it's actually a very effective dream sequence, especially as the movie goes on, because you realize it has a point to it. It has to do with Donald Pleasence character and Martin Landau's character. And I thought it was a good way to start the movie, given the context that we're given later in the movie. So sometimes you have to stay throughout the whole movie to see if those dream sequences pay off. So I don't hate it. I actually liked it. I think that's a good part of the movie, a good way to start the movie. Yeah. I think that pretty much covers my pros. There's so much I like about it, I'm just making sure. As far as cons go, the only one that I really have is they do kind of have a twist towards the end in the third act that really didn't work for me. I don't think it was necessary. I didn't hate it. It didn't ruin the movie or even the third act or anything like that, but it just kind of felt lowbrow for this movie, what we were given up until that point. And it was kind of choreographed earlier in the movie, so it wasn't like I was surprised or thrown off by it or anything. I don't think it was as effective of twist as they intended it to be, is my point here. Because you have a character that just kind of shows up at the jail that the wife and the sister are at, and it's not just a character. I'll just leave it at that without giving too much away. So that's really my only nitpick kind of con, and even with that, it's not a big con. Some other things I'll mention, kind of a warning for you diehard slasher fans, especially from the early 80s. This is a bit of a slow burn slasher movie. For hardcore slasher fans that really wants the blood and the gore and the nudity, like a Friday the 13th. It isn't really like that. there's more story. There's an escape that happens before the killing and the slashing starts. So just know that going in. And then, as I mentioned earlier, it's not an overly gory movie. There is some blood. There's one scene of gore where one of the escaped mental patients has like a claw, and he takes out like the Adam's apple or the throat of this one character after they're doing the looting. To get their weapons. That was probably the goriest. Otherwise, it's mostly blood. But that's really not... The movie wasn't going for that like a lot of low-budget movies do. It was going for more of the psychological, more of the home invasion. So this movie, I would say, is as much home invasion and psychological horror as it is slasher. Though it is slasher, don't get me wrong, this is a slasher movie. Unlike another recent movie that claimed to be a slasher movie that I reviewed that I didn't think was. But yeah, other than that, guys... There's really nothing else wrong with this movie. I love this movie. I really had a good time watching it. And I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. So 9 out of 10 for Alone in the Dark from 1982. Go ahead and comment down below your guys' thoughts on this movie. Do you love it? Do you not? Do you just like it? Does it not work for you? Comment down below. Please like this video. Hit the little notification bell and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Would really help me out for the future on my channel and the content going forward on my channel. With all that being said, like I said, we're starting the 4th and final month of 1982. I have about probably 10 or 11 movies yet to look at this month. I will be watching Christmas horror movies as well, so don't worry about that. But ones that I've already reviewed on my channel. But with that being said, thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying, and as always, stay scared. Bye.